We have been conditioned as a society by governments and the mainstream media to think that everything is always going to be all right. And if anything ever happens, if anything ever goes awry, that the government is going to be there to take care of you. I think the most important takeaway from this video or from this message that I received is that when people get desperate, they do things that they otherwise would have never done, would have never thought of doing. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Tuesday to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a little bit of insight for you of what it is that people turn into when they are desperate. I've got a couple of emails, one not too bad, but the other one very bad, of what's going on in France, at least in the area where this person lives. I'm going to share that with you so that you can understand that when human beings, just like animals, get desperate, they do desperate things. They do things that they would have never done before. And I've talked about this before, that why not prepare now? That way you don't have to turn into something that you don't want to be just in order to survive or just in order to be able to feed your family. Let's go ahead and start with this email here that I received from someone in Austria. And they're saying that firewood theft is very common here in Austria and most parts of Europe. I grab every available piece of wood because that wood is precious nowadays. So this email is from about a month ago or so. And I hadn't really mentioned it. I mentioned it here and there, but I've never shared the email with you. And by the way, for some of you that think that I'm like literally taking the time to type these emails up and making it look like an email, listen, get a life, okay? I read a few comments. One of my favorites was, do you think we're stupid, AP? Do you think you're stupid not telling us who sent you this information? I will not divulge the name of anyone that sends me anything that they want to share with the community. It doesn't matter what you may think. If you want to think that I'm coming in here at 2 o'clock in the morning and typing emails and then emailing them to myself so that I can make believe that someone sent them to me, by all means, go ahead. But ladies and gentlemen, this is just the beginning. Just common theft. Just stealing firewood. You know, what would you do if you needed to stay warm? Would you steal firewood from your neighbor? Would you steal firewood from someone on the other side of town where nobody knows you? Would you steal at all? You know, instead of having to go through that extent of doing something that you normally wouldn't do in everyday life, what's preparedness about? Preparedness is about you being able to continue to live the standard of living that you normally live during times of crises. So should these people have had prepared, they wouldn't be stealing wood from their neighbors. They wouldn't be stealing anything because they had the things put aside that they needed. We have been conditioned as a society by governments and the mainstream media to think that everything is always going to be all right. And if anything ever happens, if anything ever goes awry, that the government is going to be there to take care of you. Well, take a look at what's going on here in France. I received this email from someone that lives in France. For someone whose primary language is French and not English, I think this is very well constructed. Just a little email to give you some information from France, where there is a massive fuel shortage due to a refinery strike for 3 weeks. I just read an article early this morning that the railway strikes may resume, that there is still one of them holding out saying, hey, we may still go on strike. But I'm not really reporting on that because we'll just see where it goes. They continue to say, in one sentence, people are going crazy. There was a death this week for fuel. There was a death this week for fuel. But AP, this happens in France. France is a first world nation. France is not a third world nation. France is not Sri Lanka. France is not Venezuela. And I always say Venezuela and stuff like that. It's not picking on the Venezuelan people. But these things happen first and foremost in those nations that are poorer. That's why I said that when Europe finally goes, you better get ready here in the United States. Because we're ready. We're next. Okay? But anyways, there was actually a death because people were fighting over fuel. A young man took another man's life, a father of 2, because he walked past him at the gas station. He took a man's life because he cut in line, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here. This is just crazy. This is what people will do now And things aren't even as bad as they're going to get as winter progresses. He says here yesterday, I think he meant yesterday. Yesterday, listen to this. Yesterday, a gang of extra European men took control of a gas station near Paris to manage it. And they were doling out free gas for people from that neighborhood and would charge people an extra cost that did not live in that neighborhood. He says, we are going to be a third world country soon, as we thought. And that's what I've been saying for a long time. The goal of the people that want to run the world, ladies and gentlemen, is that we all become equal in equity across the world. So if you're a first world nation now, they're trying to turn us into a third world nation. And look at here. It seems like it's working at least a little bit. The government says every day on the TV, there is no shortage. And of course, that's what they would say. Because the government's worst case scenario is that the people panic and the people start to riot. And then in doing that, they understand that they have the power. That is the worst case scenario for a government, is for people to realize that they have the power. And he says, there is no shortage, they say on TV. It is a feeling of shortage. All right? It's a feeling of shortage, no shortage. That gentleman didn't take that other person's life because there's no shortage, because he wasn't worried that maybe he wouldn't get any gas because of that guy jumping in front of him. But it's going to get worse day after day. They are saying still on TV that the fuel shortage will bring food shortages, but everything is going to be okay. So they're being told that, yeah, this fuel shortage, remember, what do we need for fertilizer? What do we need in order for farm machinery to work? We need fuel, ladies and gentlemen. Anything other than that is just not going to work. Yeah, go ahead and try to power a big truck, an 18-wheeler, right, with batteries. Let's see how far that's going to get us. He continues to say, I don't know if it's a will to be afraid or if they are just dumb. I think he's trying to say here, I don't know if they're just trying to keep us from being afraid or if they're just dumb, meaning the media and the government. And then he goes on to say, here are screenshots of gas stations in Paris and all of France. The red means that there's no gas or fuel, and the orange means that there's only one type of fuel. And let's take a look at the screenshots that he sent. Before I go ahead and go to the screenshots, let's finish it off. Here, everybody knows that government is lying. And add all of this that's going on to 2 years of health crisis restrictions, the people are very angry, or very aggressive, as he says. Even police have no fuel, and there's a lot of videos showing policemen pushing their car. Incredible. He finishes off by saying, once again, thanks for all you're doing, and sorry if my English is imperfect. Again, I think this was very well written for you having English as a secondary or tertiary language, not sure, but French being your first language. And God bless you as well and your family as well. And thank you very much for this intel, and thank you for being one of our community members. I truly do appreciate it. And here he also says, P.S. If you use this information, do not use my name. Thanks. And this is what it looks like, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at all of these red lines. That means there is no gas at all. He says that the orange are the ones that, or the light orange are the ones that have one type of fuel. And the ones that have a red stripe or that are red have no fuel whatsoever. And look at this. I would say that just looking at it, I would say 80%. Between 70 and 80% that are completely out of fuel. What's the message? Prepare, ladies and gentlemen. If the gas station down the road still has gasoline and you need gasoline in order to get back and forth to work, get a few extra cans of gasoline if you can. If you live in an area that allows you to properly store gasoline for long term. Add a little bit of stable in there. The bottle actually tells you how much to use. 2 ounces for 5 gallons. Right? It actually tells you 1 ounce does 2.5 gallons. But most people use 5-gallon containers. 2 ounces for 5 gallons. And that gasoline, if that container is sealed, will last years. No problem, right? I think the most important takeaway from this video, or from this message that I received, is that when people get desperate, they do things that they otherwise would have never done, would have never thought of doing. Now this, what's going on in France, this is just for gasoline or fuel. I'm not sure if they mainly use diesel down there, but he said gasoline and fuel. This is just for gasoline. What do you think is going to happen when the supermarkets start running out of food? Because they themselves are saying that the fuel shortage will result in a food shortage as well. But don't panic. And I agree with the government when they're telling them, don't panic. Right? Don't panic. No. Go out there and prepare. Don't panic buy. Go out there and get a little bit at a time. And step it up. Because winter is almost here. Alright, short video today, ladies and gentlemen. Having said that, have a great day. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I am out.